Welcome back for another helping of oysters, clams, and cockles, bringing you the best TV shows and movies weekly in an easily digestible podcast packed with laughs by me, Ross Bolen, and my dear friend, Mr. Barrett Dudley. Barrett, how are you today?
Oh, I'm okay. If you're watching on youtube.com/BolenMedia, I do apologize for my my lackluster appearance today. I just got off the roof.
What are you doing on the roof?
Yeah, well, I'm putting in some Christmas lights there.
Is that so, Clark?
Little festivity, yeah, and it got me thinking I was up there, like a fiddler.
Uh-huh.
Or like a cat on the hot tin variety.
Sure.
Or like Clark Griswold in Christmas Vacation.
Indeed.
And it just got me thinking, I feel like you're either a roof Christmas light guy, or you're a ground game person.
That's true.
Now, obviously, the people
latter.
that really go all in do a little bit of both.
The latter being the in-between.
The latter, right? Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But I'm. Last year was my first year putting up any Christmas lights on my own abode.
Sure.
And so I'm now. We just did the front, the line, the roof line, but now I'm doing the eaves as well of the roof line. We're growing. I might go to Home Depot later, see what else is out there. Maybe I can add a little ground game.
You don't know if there will be time.
I don't know if there will be time, but all of that just to say did get me thinking about Christmas Vacation. Of course, a lot of the funnier moments, the more classic ones involve Clark putting up the Christmas lights. Got me thinking about Christmas movies. And just a quick reminder that last year we did our top 5 Christmas movies of all time.
We did.
If you're a patron, whether you're here for the Sopranos ride or you've been with us all along, all those backlog of episodes still there. You want to hear us talk top 5 Christmas movies?
Very true.
Fire that shit up, baby.
Fire it up on patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles.
Like a gasoline Santa's sleigh with robotic Rudolphs at the front.
Goddamn right. If you're not aware, on patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles, Barrett and I have begun the honorable task of tackling The Sopranos. Barrett for the first time, me for like the 7th time, HBO's classic crime drama, The Sopranos. We're going episode by episode, podcast per episode, spoiler-free. We started last week, episode 2, season 1, dropping tomorrow, Thursday of this week, December 10th. It'll be available on patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles. So make sure you get in there. And, of course, you can go back and listen to our backlog of content on there as well when you're a patron. So make sure you join the Crustacean Nation for just $5 to ride along with The Sopranos. Whether you've seen it or you haven't, it's one of the best shows of all time, and we promise you the podcast will enhance your experience. And, of course, the Mollusk Militia as well, our premium tier for our most loyal and gracious supporters who are riding with us on The Sopranos, but also get extra stuff, including columns and a sticker. A nice little sticker we're going to get made for y'all. So, patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles. Go today, support the show, get you some more OCC. It's all ad-free on Patreon, I should note. Barrett, are you using a staple gun when you're up there? Like, you got a little gun?
No staple gun. I've seen the film.
Okay.
So I know the staple gun is dangerous.
Treacherous.
Yes.
So what do?
So
how are they adhering to the house?
So I didn't know this until last year when I did this for the first time. But
This is why I ask. I've never done it.
They make these little plastic clips that are they're great. They can either go right on the lip of the gutter.
A lip, okay.
Or they can slide right under the roof of the house.
So you got options.
You can go, and that's I'm having to use them both ways as I get to the front of the house and I go gutter. All one-story house, but the eave goes pretty high.
Sure.
I'm up there. I'm moving around. Fortunately, I just have a world-class balance.
Good. Like a gymnast.
Yeah. It's
everyone knows this about you.
Yeah, everybody knows this about me. It's pretty incredible.
You are like a cat, nimble. You and Tobias, we all know this.
But I was thinking about Googling like how many people die from putting up Christmas lights every year.
You were thinking about Googling it?
Maybe I don't want to know. That's the thing.
I don't want to know. Now that especially because now you got me thinking about doing mine. I'm in the step of the process where I've taken out the ball.
Yeah,
like the giant ball of Christmas lights, and it's just out, and I've been staring at it for a couple weeks now. But I was
since
married.
Thanksgiving.
This is my first Christmas as a single man again, as a non-married man, and my ex would pay somebody to come put up the lights. Well, I'm not going to do that because the same reason you didn't. You've been working on your house all year, man. You've been in the backyard digging ditches, putting up fences, taking out posts and shit.
That's right.
Becoming a man. I feel like I need to do some of that. I've got this. Barrett, I'll give you another example. I ordered a hammock on Amazon. I was like, I'm I'm cool single Austin guy now. I'm gonna have a fucking hammock in my backyard.
Yeah, well, I heard Elon. He put one in his backyard.
Yeah,
He just
everybody
moved
knows
here.
Elon and Rogan both have hammocks.
They both have hammocks. Yeah.
Big hammock guys. Well, I bought the hammock on Amazon and it arrived and it is yet to be put up, and that was several months ago. It's just laying on the ground in my backyard, and at one point I got filled with so much shame just from seeing it on the back porch every day that I literally took it around the side of the house and placed it next to the trash cans. It's not trash, mind you. I'm just that pathetic of a human being. So I admire your Clark Griswold nature in going up onto the roof and doing things yourself.
Yeah. Well, but let's just hope I don't fall off. If I'm here next week, it should be. Or if I'm here Thursday, it should be good.
Fingers crossed that you don't fall off.
I mean, I'd like to see this next episode of The Sopranos.
Hey, of course you would.
I don't want to fall off the roof here.
You got to make it to the
before I
episode.
get to number 2.
Hey. Today's episode of OCC is brought to you by Leesa, makers of the greatest mattresses in the entire world. I routinely argue your mattress is up there with your living room television in terms of important purchases you make for your home. So you have to ask yourself, is your mattress kind of crappy? Do you even remember where it came from? How long have you had that thing? Do you wake up every morning feeling like you've won the lottery because your mattress is so damn comfortable? I do, on my Leesa Legend. I also slept on their hybrid, the Leesa Hybrid, for a few years. Phenomenal. As I used to say, it was the most comfortable bed I had ever laid eyes or body on. And now I have the Leesa Legend. Even better. Love them both. I've got their pillows. I've got their blankets. Leesa knows how important rest is to a better life. Leesa is the foundation of a healthier, happier you. And to Leesa, a bed is more than just a place to sleep. It's a place for relaxation and rest. All of their products have been thoughtfully designed to go beyond creating a comfortable bed to transform your bedroom into a sanctuary you actually want to spend time in. I'm telling you, every product. I got my Mimi hooked up with one of their beds, and her she's in a memory care unit, and she had a terrible mattress. They sent her a Leesa mattress. They're awesome. They donate one mattress for every 10 they sell through organizations that work in causes like foster care prevention. To date, they've donated more than 33,000 mattresses through more than 1,000 nonprofits. Leesa mattresses are made in the USA, and home delivery and setup is available. Financing is also available. Don't miss out, Clam Fam. Live healthier, live happier by resting deeper. Order today and get 15% off any mattress for a limited time at leesa.com/dragon when you use the promo code DRAGON. That's LEESA.com/dragon, promo code DRAGON. Go into 2021 getting the best sleep of your life with Leesa. And now it's time for everybody's favorite segment, Tidbits and Such with Barrett.
Oh, tidbits.
You got some such and some tids and some bits for us today, Barrett?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of where to start. I think that we've both been just watching a whole smorgasbord.
I've been going ham.
Random shit here and
I've been
there.
going off with randomness.
So we can move all of the kind of the TV show bits to the back half, because I don't think we're sharing anything in common today. So we can just kind of take turns going back and forth on what we've been relaxing to or not relaxing to, in the case of you watching the Epstein documentary.
Yeah. That wasn't relaxing at all, but I had to get it done.
So let's just start with the big bit.
Okay.
It's not really a tid.
Everybody's talking about this.
It's a big bit, and I'm actually I felt like we were going to be really far behind because this news broke middle late last week. We'd already recorded this episode,
right?
But more layers of this onion just keep getting exposed.
Yes,
and so it's actually really just kind of like cresting right now. But the headline here is that every single Warner Brothers release of 2021 is debuting right on HBO Max the same day that it releases in theaters.
Dual release, theaters, and every single person who has HBO Max will have access to every single Warner Brothers movie. And of course, the first question everyone asks is, okay, well, what movies is that? What movies are the Warner Brothers movies?
And just let's just start at the top. But the two, I mean, it's mind-boggling that this is happening. This is huge. This is absolutely huge, because two of them are Dune and The Matrix 4.
So two of the biggest releases
releases of 2021 are now coming straight to a streaming service.
And Barrett, you and I talked for months about the impact that 2020 would have on Hollywood and really the movie industry in general. And obviously we got to a point several months into this year where it became apparent the movie theater industry was going to be drastically impacted long-term by what we've seen occur in 2020. There was just no way that moving forward, studios in Hollywood could operate the same way. We saw this year turn into a complete disaster in terms of releases and pushbacks, and it's just been chaos for all these big studios that are used to bringing in billions of dollars by dropping huge box office hits that everyone goes and sees in the movie theaters. There's going to have to be a shift somewhere. Now we're seeing it. This is the first big piece of the puzzle to fall into place. It's Warner Brothers and it's HBO Max.
Yeah.
And this is it's some of the biggest movies people are looking forward to, that now, instead of being basically forced to go to a theater and watch if you want to see it the first couple weeks that it's out, you're going to be able to see it on HBO Max immediately.
Yeah. And this is not like a Disney Plus premium thing where it's
you're
going to
pay more.
Cost you an extra $30 to watch it.
It's just there.
It's just there. And just I'll just go down the list here and name everything that is something that you might have gone to theaters for. The Little Things, it's a like a cop drama action movie starring Denzel Washington, Rami Malek, and Jared Leto. You've got the Tom and Jerry movie, which is exactly what it sounds like, but that was going to be a big kids movie. The Many Saints of Newark.
Is Tom and Jerry like the Cats one though, where they try to get human beings?
No. It's cartoon. They look like Tom and Jerry. The Many Saints of Newark. The
Sopranos movie.
The prequel to The Sopranos. Reminiscence is a Hugh Jackman and Rebecca Ferguson movie. Godzilla vs. Kong, which cost over $100 million and was going to be a massive IMAX big screen thing. The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. In the Heights, this massive Lin-Manuel backed and written musical that is now being turned into a movie.
That they were already advertising the shit out of.
That was supposed to come out this past summer, but that's a big one. LeBron's new Space Jam movie. The Suicide Squad. You know how they did The Suicide Squad? Even though it was a $1 billion worldwide success, they're like, it kind of sucked, so we're just going to redo it. And James Gunn, the guy that did both of the Guardians of the Galaxies films.
Let me stop you. It didn't kind of suck. It was one of the worst movies I've ever seen in theaters.
By the way, cast on The Suicide Squad: Margot Robbie, Idris Elba, John Cena, Joel Kinnaman, Viola Davis, Pete Davidson, Nathan Fillion.
Who's playing the Joker? What? How? There's another Suicide Squad movie, and they just put a "the" in front of it. It's the reverse Facebook.
Yes, and some of those names you'll note are the characters from the original one. Like Margot Robbie is still playing Harley Quinn, and Viola Davis is still in it, and Joel Kinnaman is one of the dudes. I can't remember which one. And he's obviously still in it.
What the hell, man?
Yeah, so I don't know if it's just like a. It's hard to say exactly what it is. It's like a reboot, but also kind of a sequel.
Stallone is in it? Taika Waititi? What the fuck? Dude, what is going... Viola Davis? This is insane. Okay. Whatever. Do it again, I guess. But the first one sucked.
King Richard, which is a Will Smith film about the father of Venus and Serena Williams, and then The Matrix 4, and then a Mortal Kombat reboot.
Mortal Kombat!
A new Clint Eastwood film. Anyway, it
has begun, Barrett.
The entire slate of Warner Brothers movies. This is millions and millions and millions and millions, billions and billions and billions and billions. Anyway, this is insane. And it's just there's so much here to think about. It's really hard to know even where to begin. But we've talked on and off. We've hit on it in tidbits before.
Mm-hmm.
But let's just go back to the announcement and the launch of HBO Max.
Yes.
For a little bit of context here.
Okay.
Because it was an utter catastrophe, and 2 big-time execs ended up getting fired over it.
Which I will add was completely justified.
But
it was a disaster.
Nobody except for people like you and I who are talking and thinking and reading about this stuff for a living, essentially, really understood what the difference was between HBO Max and HBO Go and HBO Now. And do I have HBO Max if I already have HBO Go?
There were literally 3 of them,
or is it a new streaming subscription? And what else am I getting? Don't I already have all this with HBO Go?
It was chaos.
Why are they moving? I
routinely clicked on the wrong one inside my Apple TV.
Why is it called HBO when HBO is really just one of the things that you get with this, but they didn't want to call it Warner Max? Like, it was a nightmare.
Right.
And so it stumbled out of the gate, and even though the content-wise, it's a great library.
Now.
Competitive with the other streaming services.
Yeah, any of them, dude. They got crazy movies in there.
They were not getting the signups. They were not doing the numbers that they needed to be doing for a brand new, highfalutin, shiny streaming service.
And that main piece of the problem being the lack of clarity around what the fuck it even was being named HBO Max, but containing all of these different Warner properties. Yes. And here we are.
Also important to remember that Warner Brothers is owned by AT&T, who also owns HBO and there's a lot in play here. AT&T is at the head of all this. Is my point.
Okay.
AT&T owns Time Warner and Warner Max, and therefore HBO, and a bunch of the other downstream shit.
That's what they call a conglomerate.
Yes.
I think.
So at the end of the day, what happened here was the real high ups were like, we need more people on HBO Max. We need more signups. And now they have just granted you the best reason to maybe ever sign up for a streaming service.
That has existed so far, I would say, hands down. This is the most incentive we've ever seen behind joining one solitary streaming service that isn't some crazy premium thing. This is the $20 a month. You get HBO. This is one of the things you can bundle too, isn't it?
So
or is it not?
I think it's like $15 a month or $16.
I think you're right.
I don't think it's all the way to $20 here.
And I have to pay that separate of my HBO bill on Google Fiber, by the way. So I ended up canceling Google Fiber's HBO, and I just have it through Apple TV.
Okay, yeah. So really, it's something that we're going to be getting these massive tentpole franchises right to the streaming service, and it's a nice feather in the cap for HBO Max. Now, on the flip side, while this is kind of exciting news for the consumer, this is really weird and awkward for all the people that that produce these movies. And nobody knows how the back end is going to work out here, because you take big actors, whether they're super established ones or Leonardo DiCaprio, or ones like Gal Gadot, who does the first Wonder Woman and then signs an extended contract where she definitely is getting back end points. Well, now the back end is all fucked because these movies aren't actually going into theaters. Is AT&T just like picking up a $300 million tab for each of these movies, and like how are the actors getting their back end?
Is it not reminiscent to you of the music industry and what has occurred from albums to streaming and singles? And
totally.
So it's going to be curious. I don't feel like the movie industry has quite as much motivation as the music world did. I still think people believe the world will go back to normal, that things will go back to as they were in 2019.
Yeah.
And, there are enough of those people that I think the movie industry is hesitant to just shutter. Like to just fucking say, we're done in terms of movie theaters, and we're going to go do this streaming thing, and everybody's just going to have to watch these movies in their homes.
Right.
But it's certainly, this is a big shift. This is a really, really big shift. And you spoke to how awkward it is for some of the actors, actresses, producers, directors. A lot of people have had a lot of thoughts on this, and it's a very controversial move. Christopher Nolan being one of the people who spoke out.
That was the next thing here, yeah.
Yeah, and can I just read his full quote?
Please, yeah.
He said, I guess he was asked about HBO Max in particular and the Warner Bros. Decision that was made, and he said, disbelief, especially the way in which they did. There's such controversy around it because they didn't tell anyone. In 2021, they've got some of the top filmmakers in the world. They've got some of the biggest stars in the world who worked for years in some cases on these projects, very close to their hearts, that are meant to be big screen experiences. As a freaking ad pops up in the middle of me reading this. They're meant to be out there for the widest possible audiences, and now they're being used as a loss leader for the streaming service, for the fledgling streaming service, without any consultation. So there's a lot of controversy. It's very, 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 very messy. A real bait and switch. Yeah, it's sort of not how you treat filmmakers and stars and people who these guys have given a lot for these projects. They deserve to be consulted and spoken about what was going to happen to their work. And then he continued and said, some of our industry's biggest filmmakers and most important movie stars went to bed the night before thinking they were working for the greatest movie studio, Warner, and woke up to find out they were working for the worst streaming service.
Yeah.
So not happy.
So, and here's why Christopher Nolan is important to this entire conversation. Because in the year 2020, his movie... He went to bat for his movie and essentially said... Tenet. And essentially said, my movie deserves to be experienced on the big screen. It is an experience that you need to have in an IMAX or a movie theater. Like, we're not going to streaming with it. We are going to the theaters with it. I'm going to put the movie industry on my back, and we're getting this shit back. And it didn't work.
No, it did not.
Now, to his credit, like, New York and LA never opened up. The two biggest markets never had it, basically.
Right.
But in the areas where you could go see a movie, like you and I did.
Yes.
Not enough people went and did this.
Right. We did it for Movie Club on Patreon.
Right. And this was the test. This was the experiment. By the way, the pandemic is worse now than it was when we went to see Tenet in theaters.
Yes.
So like the next thing that releases in theaters, I don't expect it to do any better than Tenet did.
So domestic box office, it did $57 million.
That's I'm right, and it would have done probably 90 on its opening weekend in a non-pandemic world,
which is what makes it obviously
so
problematic that this didn't go the way he wanted.
His resistance to letting Tenet go to streaming or pushing the release back a year or whatever it was, and basically kind of insisting on putting this out in theaters in the middle of the 2020 COVID pandemic, kind of the first domino. He's not totally at fault for this, but Warner Brothers saw what happened to Tenet and was like,
nope,
we got to do something with these movies. We have to turn this into a win somehow. And they made this decision. Now, like he said, the filmmakers and the actors woke up and suddenly are starring on a streaming service, not really in theaters anymore. And
which is a vanity thing.
And there are now many lawsuits.
Yes. It's a vanity thing
about this as well.
But think about Hollywood. That's a lot of it, right? It's image. And these people, that's very important to them. It's always been a big joke, right? If you were a TV actor versus a movie actor even. And movie stars having to do TV, and it was sort of this. It's not really the case anymore because of streaming services and premium, and then just this golden age of television where literally there's 100 good projects, literally great projects for you to star in as a leading person. But man, it's just like, first of all, this is odd. $205 million budget for Tenet. So I said $57 million domestic, right? Mm-hmm. That's a disaster from that standpoint. But internationally, they still did $302 million. So, like, they made money.
Yeah.
It just wasn't anywhere near what they expected it would have been during a non-pandemic, non-freak year, right? Yep. So it's that fear that now they've seen the result. They've seen they're not going to get anywhere near. So what happens when you start putting out movies that aren't even Tenet, that aren't the most hyped Christopher Nolan film of the year?
Yeah.
Like, if you're then the normal shit is fucked if he can't pull in the numbers he was before.
So the one that we'll see with, and the one that kind of preceded this like major 2021 announcement, is that HBO and Warner Brothers had already decided to do this with Wonder Woman at the end of this year.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman was announced several weeks back that it was going to be releasing on HBO Max the same day that it releases in theaters on Christmas Day, I believe.
Right.
So we'll see if a big superhero movie is kind of able to bring people into the open theaters any better than Tenet was able to. Now,
it's just that here's the thing, man. Like, for you, if it's a movie you want to see and it's available on your couch or the theater right now, like, you're not moving.
So, okay.
I'm not moving.
So here's the thing with that. I don't know exactly when. Let's take the main piece here. The biggest one is Dune.
Yes. Okay.
I'm not totally sure what the release date for Dune is at this point. I can't remember if that got pushed to spring, summer, or winter.
It is Dune release date, December 18th, 2020.
Yeah, that's obviously been pushed, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Let me peek.
But assuming that it's not like January or February of this year when we kind of expect things to really be bad after all the Thanksgiving, Christmas gatherings and the cold weather and just, not everybody's able to get the vaccine yet, right? Like, so this is, let's just say Dune is kind of after those first few months of 2021. I need to see Dune in a theater. And that desire is not going away.
October 1st, 2021 is the new date.
Okay. So, like, I'm still going to go pay to see Dune in a theater in October of next year.
Okay.
No,
but it's
there's
Dune,
no question about it.
And it's had the trailer we've seen. We know that's one that, yes, your experience is going to be massively enhanced by being in a movie theater.
But you're right. There are other movies on here that I probably wouldn't have gone to a theater for anyway.
Basically, if it's not an action movie.
That I'll now get my eyes on. But even like the one with Denzel and Rami Malek, like I probably wasn't going to go see that.
Nah, man, no.
But
so that's the
on
argument right
HBO,
there.
like,
that's the argument.
Like,
if it ends
I'll
up with
probably
more,
watch that.
It's more eyeballs.
Yeah,
and
it is more
eyeballs.
eyeballs.
Isn't the goal to get as many people as possible to see the thing? Then you kind of can figure out from there how do we get the profit that, like, because that's what they've done with the music industry. It turned into streaming, and it was suddenly like cents on the dollar you know, coming to these artists the way they saw it. But now the streaming stuff has started to catch up. Artists have fought for larger shares of their profits. Like, it depends on which label you're with, and there are a lot of circumstances here. But streaming has proven to become, they're getting money out of that.
So right, and I think the question will be, right, because with the music industry, where like the revenue now for artists is in touring.
Right.
Like, well, I mean, where they make all their money
always was, though.
Sure.
It's just the top dogs we think about that, like, yes, they are making millions and millions and millions of dollars off album sales back in the day, and then suddenly it was like, whoa, what?
But the reason Taylor Swift makes $90 or $100 million in a year is from her concerts and tours and merchandise.
Which now,
and so what is that for the actors in the studios that now stand to maybe not make $500 million in theaters?
I mean, that's the exact same thing we're looking at with the music industry now, because none of these guys can tour. So I've seen rappers like Young Thug, Lil Baby was the most recent one I saw, speaking to his losses on the year from not being able to tour. And he was charging, and this was his alleged fee. It's never what they say it is, but he said $400K a show, okay? And he was talking about, like, during a normal year, he'd be able to do 2 shows a weekend.
Yeah.
And that now he did 1 show this year. 1. If you do the math, it is an insane revenue loss for these artists. So the music industry is screwed in the same way.
Right.
People aren't going now, or for the foreseeable future, meaning probably not in 2021, to be out mass in public and feeling comfortable with that.
Right.
And not having to social distance. That's not going to be a thing soon. So it's like, in the meantime, look, the first couple months we were like, it's the waiting game. We'll all figure it out. Nah, it's over, bro. We're a fucking year into this thing almost. And it's like, it's clearly going to be an issue for the foreseeable future. These industries have to react. They've got to try new stuff. Yes, there are going to be ruffled feathers. Yes, people are going to lose their fucking shit in Hollywood over this. This is going to be bad. But if they can show some results, then, and that's where I don't know. I do not know. Are they expecting like tens of thousands of people to flock to HBO Max?
Yes,
right?
yes.
That's what they're shooting
That
for.
is what, yes.
And
yes.
then they'll somehow be able to offset what would have been theater money with this streaming subscription money, and probably having to build out the way they pay out over years.
Like Christopher Nolan says, he kind of nailed it with, like, this is loss leader. They will be, these movies for 2021 will be loss leaders that are long term, that are meant to, at this point now, build to a long-term goal.
Right.
Now they are using these things. Well, we have this content. We have to use it. What's our best strategy? Let's put it on the streaming service and drive as much traffic and dollars and subscriptions as we can to the streaming service, and then hope that they can keep you there, right?
Right.
And they're going to do that for all of 2021, because the way that they're doing these movies is that they're releasing like 1 a month. So you're gonna get through Dune, but then you're gonna keep it for Matrix 4, and then you're gonna keep it for your kids so they can watch Tom and Jerry, and then you're gonna keep it for, like, it's just on and on and on and on.
And then think of it this way. On top of that, on this argument for them, for the executives, this is what they're thinking. If that works, even to a degree, and then the vaccine hits right, and in a year we're all gravy, then you get the mix. Then it's people have the streaming service and they're back in theaters, and suddenly revenue is up. And that's a really interesting possibility.
Right. And I do, based on the numbers that get tossed around, that does feel like what's happening, because the numbers for some of these, some of the examples are fleeing my mind right now. But like Netflix, I want to say that Netflix offered to buy out Bond for like $300 million, the new Bond film. So there, and $1 billion.
I'm not joking. A $1 billion bond offering. Oh, this is this isn't about James Bond. It's about a bond, like in financing,
like a bailout, like a bond bailout.
Fund acquisitions, production, and operations. Excuse me. Let me put James in front of that word.
I can't remember exactly what.
$600 million.
$600 million. Okay.
And it was MGM reportedly asked Netflix and Apple for $600 million to bring James Bond to them.
There you go.
Straight to streaming.
Yeah. So
they really went for it there.
I don't know what like the numbers are for that HBO Max is essentially bucking up for each one of these films. Mm-hmm. But we even hear stuff about like Hulu, like buying Palm Springs for, $20, $25, $30 million, and that's just a tiny little thing that didn't cost anything to make. So it's like they are definitely still these films.
17.5 million.
These films can still be very, very, very profitable. And if they can sustain that, and these big dogs, the streaming services, are buying them up at these massive prices just to build out the library, then maybe there's not so much lost. And then by the time 2020 back end of 2021, 22 rolls around, everybody's more comfortable. Now we get a little bit of both. We're back in theaters. They can get the box office numbers, and we get a little bit of this cool streaming stuff too. It could really work out in the end. And
I also think the offset argument. Go ahead. I'll come
well,
back
I was so I was listening to a conversation and reading a little bit more about this, and obviously, like, I'm sensitive to all this because thinking about the idea of like losing the movie theater experience is
it sucks.
Is
something
terrifying
that you and
to
me
me.
hold very close. Yeah.
And so it's scary to even like have the prospect of like, oh, this will never exist again. But the more I read and the more I listened and the more I thought about it, going to movies for the vast majority of people already is like a few times a year, a treat type of thing.
Yes.
Like most people watch stuff at home already.
That's where you and I are the outliers in terms of like we are movie theater people.
Well, and even,
we don't realize that most people aren't.
Until we were doing like a once a month movie club where we usually went to see a movie.
Yeah.
Even I was probably seeing 4 or 5 movies in theaters a year. Maybe it was 6, but it definitely wasn't consistently one every single month.
I was probably like, between 6 and 10 depending on the year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, a really good movie year might bring me to theaters once a month. I mean, that would be like the best movie year I've had in my life.
Yeah, and so I think that at the end of the day, what we're moving towards here is just like the broader common knowledge and to go along with that, fewer theaters, but more theaters like Draft House that really deliver a full night out experience. This is a treat type thing.
Yeah, because who the fuck is still going to like AMC
right, and less
30?
of less of like the big AMCs and
so
Cinemarks.
They're done in my brain.
The stuff that
I waved bye years ago.
Exactly right, and so and the stuff that is pricier, and iPick, which has like
couches and blankets and shit.
And
got fucking mics
that stuff
on them.
Was
probably
already essentially set up for social distancing, right? Because the chairs are huge and
True
you're
enough.
spread out and like
very few seats in the theater
really,
comparatively.
That model is more what we're going for. And like, does that mean that movie ticket prices increase in 21, 22? Probably. They'll probably go up again.
Sure.
It'll probably be $20 a pop to see a movie.
I would guess.
And that's just something that we'll just have to factor in. And I think that we'll get used to pretty quickly, knowing that like our theater going movies, what we go to the theater for, this is a big deal. It's a night out. It's an expense. It's a treat. And hopefully on the flip side of that, we do get more stuff. I'd love for the smaller budget middle films to still be getting made.
Right.
If they can figure out how to bring those more often to streaming,
right,
where we all get to watch them at home sooner, basically, rather than later.
There are a few things here that I think are super important that you and I have also touched on in the past. One is that technology started to open this door a long time ago. Televisions have become more affordable, home theater equipment, speakers, fucking sound bars, all this crazy shit. People have the means and the desire to create movie theater viewing experiences in their home. Now, it's not the same. And you and I, when we think of movie theater viewing experience, it's because it's a fucking enormous room. No one has a room that size. No one has a screen that size, except for Drake or whoever. And it's the experience like that. But in terms of losing things visually, like if you watch this at home versus in the theaters, you're not going to see nearly as much. Like that is not true anymore, really. You can get a good theater experience out of your living room if you want to in 2020. You can. It is affordable. Way more than it was 10 years ago, Barry.
Sure.
10 years ago, it was, if you wanted to make your house like sick with a TV and a home theater, like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. You could spend 10 grand really freaking easily. If you spent 10 grand right now, you would have the most disturbingly badass room. I would move in with you.
Yeah.
So like that is just, it's a piece of the puzzle to me. People are much more likely to stay and watch at home if they have a viewing experience that is pleasurable, which before you could only get in a theater. Everybody had these shitty-ass TVs with no HD and yada yada. That's not the case anymore. And all the prices have gone down like crazy. On top of that, one of the things that these celebrities have to consider is like the days of that move, like that Hollywood, that thing that like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood captured, the golden age of Hollywood, it's fucking over.
Yeah.
All right? It's gone. It's done. They all need to let it go. These old directors like Christopher Nolan, look, man, I get it. Used to be this prestigious thing in America, but it's fucking over, bro. We don't care anymore.
Here's something that I didn't realize until this conversation all started happening over this last couple of weeks. You know how people think about like the 70s as like the golden age of filmmaking?
Sure.
That's what everybody refers to when they think about like, oh, this is going to be like a 70s noir crime. You know, it's all the Italian stuff. It's like the Fellini and then the early Scorsese and like all that shit that we consider just the most hallowed ground of Hollywood movie making. You know, they weren't even releasing box office numbers in those years. Box office, like that metric as like success for a movie did not start happening until the 80s and didn't really start picking up and like being like broadcast and like the thing that you went by until the 90s.
Yeah.
So that it's just, like it's...
And then and that's 30 fucking years ago. And they're still clinging to that idea. That's the thing for me. It's like, you know where the money is, Barrett? It's influencers. So you're losing box office money. If you're one of these A-listers that's like, dude, just go make an extra $10 million on Instagram. Like, what's your fucking problem? Like, you're just behind. And that's where I'm seeing a lot of these people turn. Look at all the A-listers using at first
doing
Instagram
advertisements right now. It's insane. Did we talk about this on the podcast?
No, we have not. No, we have not. And we can get to that too. But the first thing I noticed was like a slow trickle. A-listers didn't screw with Instagram, really, man. Like Jay-Z's still not on there. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It was just a weird thing. They were like, we don't need that. We don't screw with that. It's a young man's game, yada, yada. Well, more and more old people have gotten on it. And by old, I mean above 20 years old. Let me just put it that way. So I'm old. Everybody's on the social medias now, Barrett. McConaughey is cranking out 15 whiskey ads a day and a Lincoln ad on that fucking thing. If you're not on there getting your bang for your buck on there, that's where you're missing the ball. It's no longer can you just rely on the movie theater income and the old school Hollywood ways. That's not the game anymore. So like in this argument, if you're exposed to far more eyeballs as an actor via streaming, which you most certainly are, way the hell more people are going to watch you on streaming over the course of years and years and years and years and years and years and years than they would have in the movie theaters, then technically you could theoretically make the same amount or more money.
Yeah.
As an actor, actress, or celebrity. Now, the side of this that gets weird is the producers, the directors, because they don't have that world. So it's a totally different game for them. And I know why they're resistant to it. Because they become less and less important as this moves towards streaming. And it's just the power struggle, that shift, the Harvey Weinstein stuff that sort of kicked it off even. You could tie in a little. It's like that idea of it being like 20 white dudes in Hollywood who just fucking run everything. And it's all about getting people into seats in theaters. Like that isn't it anymore. It's just not the game. So, yeah, it's fascinating to me that this is the first. Like, I saw the news and I was like, oh, shit. Then I saw the developments after the fact and I was like, well, this is the biggest story in entertainment this year.
Yeah.
It really, really is. The other last point I wanted to make is you brought up the price of theater entrance and what it may be next year. And we'd already seen, you remember when we were kids and it started to climb, Barrett, and people started saying shit like, when I was a young boy, it was a nickel to go to the theater and they'd give you a hot dog. like it was just, if it gets to $20, $25 for a ticket, and we're not talking about eating, we're not talking about food, the full experience of an Alamo Drafthouse type of thing. The problem, as I see it, is that I immediately go, how much do I pay for Netflix a month? What, $15, $20 now?
Right,
I think it's $20 now. You're telling me I'm paying the same fucking amount to go watch one movie and Netflix gives me access to like 30,000 movies? That's the weird place where the math gets confusing for me, where I don't see everyday average Americans being like, I'll pay $30 to go see a movie.
Well,
if HBO Max is $20 and you get all these other ones, it's like, fuck the movies.
And again, that's why, and this is something that was, something that was happening pre-pandemic already that we've discussed, but like, the whole narrative that the only movies getting made at this point are Marvel movies, right? That type of thing.
Right.
So it's at that point what you will be okay. That will just become even more separated essentially, in the fact that like the only movies essentially that movie theaters even carry down the line might be movies that are like Marvel Cinematic Universe or Dune or Matrix 4 or
Yeah,
whatever.
because to your point,
those are the ones that you will go spend $25 a ticket on.
That's the funny thing.
So
to your point, that shift was already so happening, man.
Everything else, you have to hope that instead of not getting made anymore, it gets put on streaming services.
I mean, I think you could even argue for like indie films.
Because you're right.
This is a win. This is a good thing.
I'm not going to
It
go
evens the playing field.
I'm not going to go spend $25 to see Parasite in a movie theater.
This evens the playing field, though. No, exactly. But I think that's eyeballs-wise, audience-wise, I think this evens the playing field because the complaint that you and I had started to lay out was that every movie has to be a Marvel movie, Avengers, whatever, because those are the only things getting people to a theater anymore. Do you know why? Well, because we all have streaming services. Regular-ass movies that we think, I don't really need to see this on a fucking movie theater screen. You're watching that shit at home.
You wait till that comes out.
Or you wait till it comes out on streaming in a few freaking months. It's not that long. That's just getting worse, multiplied exponentially by the pandemic. All that wave, that huge wave that had already begun to build, it's crashed into the shore, and now we're seeing what's happening as a result. It's wild, basically, that this conversation started around this exact same topic pre-pandemic, with a couple different things that have now come way more into play as a result, and we're seeing it unfold. It's going to be a complete change and shift in Hollywood in the way that functions.
Now, here's where no other shoe has dropped yet. Nobody has followed suit with Warner Brothers.
Right.
That's what everybody is kind of on pins and needles now.
Like, is every other theater
right? Because
who else is going to have the balls, basically?
Yeah, is anybody else going to do this? Will Marvel decide that like Black Widow is going straight to Disney Plus and it's not $30 extra? Will Universal find a place for like Fast and Furious 17 or whatever on Peacock? Right? Like that's what everybody's kind of waiting for bated breath to see if anybody else jumps off this cliff. Basically.
I hope they do. I know. Like, it's you and I are especially in a strange place because I root for these people. Like, I love Hollywood. I love pop culture. I love the celebrity aspect of America. I'm a fan of a lot of these people, and this is going to change up their whole shit. Like, their whole shit. And I just mean that from an annoyance perspective. They're obviously good with money.
Yeah. So do you follow on Instagram? Let's see. I don't think you do. It's called Douxmoi.
I don't think so.
Douxmoi. So this is spelled Deuxmoi. If you're really into the pop culture stuff and really into like celebrity gossip and you love a good blind item, then this is an absolute must follow on Instagram. Deuxmoi. Douxmoi. So
thank you.
They just post on stories and on.
I do follow them.
Okay, yeah. So it's celebrity gossip.
Look at
lots of which is blind, which means they don't give you a name. They just say, "Here's like a tip about A-list celebrity that, likes a finger in the bum or something like that." It's salacious and then sometimes not salacious.
A sausage in the banger, a banger in the mouth.
But one of their stories recently has been about how we're slowly starting to see more and more A-listers in commercials, basically. Yeah. And this was, we think about guys that have really been traditional with their celebrity, like Leo, and it's the Zoolander joke, right? Like they're doing Diet Coke commercials in Japan. They're doing, cologne commercials in Turkey.
Right.
But they don't do shit here.
Right. And they don't want to mess with the brand.
Exactly. But now it's like I cannot count how many times Brie Larson has been on my TV screen in like a Nissan ad and then like a Nintendo Wii ad. And then I got Anna Kendrick in like the Doritos ad. And then I got like, so just like you said, they are already starting to break that barrier as well as like as the work has slowed down from the pandemic.
You got to find revenue.
They're picking up these commercials. And so, I don't love the idea of like every actor now being on my Instagram
feed. A spokesperson
like
for something.
Yeah.
That's annoying for sure.
But having them be in like a car commercial I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah. McConaughey and Lincoln.
Yeah, that's fine. Brie Larson and Nintendo, I'm good with it. Anna Kendrick and Doritos, secure the bag. But like, I really don't want to see like,
Daniel Day-Lewis in a Depends commercial.
I don't really want to be scrolling my feed and have like George Clooney pop up and
sell you insurance,
try to sell me tummy tea or something like that. And like I don't think it's. I'm making a big distinction there,
but that's where it's going to shift, right? That's where we're going to see our shift. It's like the silly. it's like ego-driven. Like, they're going to have to swallow their pride, a lot of these people, and it's not going to be what it was. And I find it funny that it's like it's a swallowing of pride, because literally, like, bro, it's just a different medium. Like, you just do the same job. You're just on the camera. Take it easy.
Yeah, but it's less. My resistance to that is, I don't want people that I see in movies and TV shows to like be oversaturated, but at the same time, it also is very much like social dilemma type shit.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need everything to be an ad and an algorithm and like infiltrating my brain and like causing me to make decisions that I'm not purposely make. Like, the whole thing. And just like, if the end result of the movie and the pandemic and the theater issue is that like I get even more people selling me shit on my feed, like that's a net negative no matter how many good movies I get on streaming services now.
Yes, frankly, I'd prefer that this shitty Jackson ad that pops up to try to sell me a chain is the douchebag random asshole who started the company and not George Clooney or Leo or whoever. Like, I would prefer if those gentlemen continued to focus on their philanthropic work internationally and left the Instagram models to do their thing.
Exactly.
But there's going to be a shift, and it's going to be weird to watch.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say about this whole Warner Brothers situation. We should have named this segment the Warner Brothers situation instead of Tidbits and Such.
Well, that's why I said it's a big bit.
It is a huge bit. We just bit off more than we could chew of this bit. Barrett, we can save the rest of this stuff. There's no timetable. Nothing that I watched that I wanted to talk about is new. I guess the Epstein doc is sort of new, but not really. Everybody watched that months ago. So the things I want to discuss next week that I've watched, if anybody feels like watching them, and I will give thoughts on them next week. Hillbilly Elegy, I went and watched. It's on Netflix. It's been controversial.
What is that again?
It is starring Amy Adams, and let me pull up. It's actually quite the cast list, so I don't want to shit on anybody. Glenn Close plays Amy Adams' mother. It's directed by Ron Howard. I think that's about it in terms of people that I recognize off the top. But it's a very good cast, very well acted. It has been controversial in the way that it's been received for portraying middle and lower class America.
Hillbillies?
Yes, which I find to be very funny and have a lot of takes on that I will share next week. Watch that movie, and then you'll have to be part of the discussion next week with us. I also went back and watched Michael Clayton, one of my all-time favorite movies.
Okay.
So I have some thoughts on that. I started a show that many people over the years have told me, Ross, you need to watch this. It's right up your alley. And I just, for some reason, it was one of those ones that, like, the marketing never hit for me for some reason. Kind of like Deadwood. It's Broad City. And I would have said, like, it's been pitched to me as, like, female workaholics.
You're like, right, but you always tell me, like, in the cards and stuff, you're like, I don't think women are funny. And so that you know.
I always tell Barrett, I don't mess with female comedians. Liz Lemon was stupid. No, Broad City, though, I had never watched this show. I'm familiar with Alana Glazer. I didn't know Abby Jacobson, her co-star, and I didn't know Alana Glazer was from Broad City.
Okay.
I'm just an ignorant slut. This show, now, I will preface it by saying it is most certainly stoner comedy, is hysterical. I have cried laughing multiple times, and I've only watched 3 or 4 episodes.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm about 6 or 7 in now. Have you ever watched any Broad City?
Yeah, I've probably seen 6 episodes total. I think Comedy Central has historically been a very weird one to catch up on episodes.
Yeah,
I believe now through. Well, I know South Park is on HBO Max, but
true.
But a lot of these shows have found homes on various streaming services. Broad City is available. Where are you watching?
I think it's Hulu.
Okay,
but let me double check.
It's one of them. It's available somewhere. So it was one that I never like got caught up on because it wasn't easy to find on one of these platforms.
It may be HBO Max too, man.
But I think it is now, and every time I've watched it, I'm right there with you. It is hilarious.
It's on Hulu,
really, really funny
through HBO Max.
Okay.
But yeah, like I don't really have much else to say about that one. Broad City is very, very funny. It's a show that I'm very glad that I've gotten into now, and I've been enjoying to wind down at the end of the day. Fucking hysterical. And then I wind down with Broad City after I watch the Jeffrey Epstein documentary, which I really don't have any further thoughts on other than to say that, holy shit, I'm glad that guy's dead. Wow. It certainly seems suspicious how that went down, and I didn't realize the scope to which he was abusing women, the scope of which he was, like, the amount. And obviously I was very aware that he was a monster after everything unfolded the way that it did. I didn't know the extent to what kind of oh my God, that was one of the more unnerving documentaries I've watched from the perspective of we never really get to hear from him, obviously. So like most docs, you get to see more of the villain, if you want to frame it up that way.
Sure.
And to never really get much out of him or his female accomplice who's now in prison to be tried, whatever her name is, it doesn't matter, fuck her. Oh my God, it just gave me the creeps, man. It really, really creeped me out to see how far removed from reality, to the extent that they think they can literally do anything, and it's almost like a drive. Like it was almost like this guy was like, I'm pretty sure I can get away with anything. Let's see how far I can push it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was almost his reason for being the way he was. And it was just horrifying. It was horrifying, but it's one of those things where I felt like I really needed to watch it to have an understanding of it, for the historical context, frankly. And then also because
that was the Netflix one.
Yes, and it's just it's something that, like, for me, especially when they're recent, when they're modern, when they're current stories, I want to know the kind of monsters that are out there, man. You know what I'm saying? I live in this fucking planet. I got to roam around this world.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know what kind of freaks are wandering around amongst me. So in this case, that was my motivation for watching the Epstein doc, and I walked away just like, yeah, I probably could have gone without that one. I mean, I probably could have. I don't know that I needed that. It was disgusting, mostly. And on that positive note, we'll end today's show. But seriously, next week I do want to talk about all the things I was watching. Barrett, what have you been watching that you want to maybe touch on next week if anybody wants to get in there?
You know I'm a Great British Bake Off fan.
I do.
And they have released on Netflix their holiday special, which was actually broadcast and filmed in January of 2020, so pre-pandemic,
wow.
And it was like a little New Year thing for the Brits.
Okay.
And this year, it's kind of a celebrity version, and they have the cast of Dairy Girls on to do their little holiday bake-off.
Okay.
Now, Dairy Girls is a show that has come up in mentions for us on Twitter.
DERRY Girls.
DERRY Girls. It is about a group of Irish girls that are that go to Catholic school, and it's coming of age, high school type.
Is this the one where they thought the kids were too sexy or some
based
shit?
in?
No, not that one.
Definitely not.
Okay, cool.
Don't think so anyway.
Remember there was like the French Netflix show or movie that everybody freaked out about?
That was about like 11-year-olds doing twerking or something. I
didn't really look into it any
I'm pretty
further
sure
either.
it was called La Cousins Dangerous.
Did you just say 11-year-olds twerking or something? Fucking, okay. Continue, sir. I'm sorry.
So I felt the need to, I really want to watch this. I love my Bake Off. I love my holiday special Bake Off.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to know who these girls were.
Sure.
So this finally got me to be like, okay, let's queue up Dairy Girls. Let's watch an episode. So I've watched one episode of Dairy Girls so far.
Okay.
I'm not sure it's my now it's one episode.
It's also a British sitcom.
I'm not.
Just makes it tough for Americans.
Irish.
Oh. What?
I mean, that's British, but they're definitely in Ireland. So
it's set in Derry, Northern Ireland, but it does say British sitcom. Maybe Wikipedia's. Look, I don't want to get into this. I don't want to get into the whole IRA, Ireland, England thing. I don't know what the fuck's going on. All right.
Right in episode 1, there's definitely some IRA stuff going on.
Okay,
here.
well,
that's part of what they deal with. So it's interesting. It was funny. I enjoyed it. I wasn't like blown away. It didn't grab me the way that something like Sex Education did, or some other British comedies have. But I'll probably keep watching. It's short. Like that's one of the great things about those British sitcoms, as it were, is that like there's 2 seasons of this, and they're each 6 episodes, and each episode's like 22 minutes. So
there's only 12 episodes. Yeah,
it's very quick to get through.
3rd season was supposed to be this year, but was postponed.
So I started Dairy Girls, and we'll probably run through that since it's only 12 short episodes, and now I'll know who these ladies are, these girls are on the Bake Off special.
Right on.
So I've got that going. I finally started in on Marvelous Mrs. Maisel season 3. I'm about halfway through that season.
Oh, I need to get back in there.
And I've 2 thumbs up so far on the first 4 episodes. It's season 2 was a little hit or miss. Season 3 has found. So basically, just a quick note here. What season 3 has me thinking about is just like how much we loved season 1 and how much critical acclaim it got. And it's always difficult when you are a show that makes a giant impact because you're showing us something that we've never really seen before.
Right.
So like having this late 1950s Jewish housewife like find herself in the middle of a divorce and suddenly turn to stand-up comedy, which no other females are doing, and like navigate the world and like what's expected of her from society, and like have this ex-husband who she's still kind of in love with, and then like pursue this career in stand-up comedy in the 1950s and 60s is like, this is just a great story because it's not one that's been told before. So
very original.
We're in love with the writing, the acting, and cherry on top is like the novelty of how fun this story is. Well, that's gone once you continue down the line. Now you're just a TV show.
They got to find other ways to be fresh.
Yeah, that has that first season to live up to, and that's really difficult.
Yeah, it's like the sophomore slump thing.
Yeah, and so season 2, which I still really enjoyed, was definitely not as good. And now in season 3, I feel like they have found they're not trying as hard to like live up to that.
First season.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, you can always kind of feel that when it's like they're trying to capture that same lightning in the bottle, and it's like, and then finally they're like, you know what, we got other shit.
And part of this is that they shortened this season. It's only 8 episodes instead of 10. And as a viewer,
you love that.
Well, as a viewer of a show that I love, I'm like, oh man, like 2 fewer episodes. But at the same time,
can't win with Barrett.
But at the same time, I'm like, no, this is probably a good thing. If they had a story and they were like, this is an 8-episode story, I'm happy that they're not stretching this out.
Right.
Like, be concise, be good, make every single scene count, make it all something that's like, that's great.
Yeah, don't feel beholden to 10.
Right, exactly. And so I
8 is still good. That's a good number.
It's still good. So
I'm happy with that.
It's positive. It's very funny. It's just, I feel like they found a nice spot where they're not trying desperately to live up to that crazy critical acclaim that they got in the first season, and they're going with a good story and good characters, and that's all they need to do.
Good for them. Happy for Mrs. Maisel.
So I'm watching that, and I think that's it. I think those are my 2 things. I'm obviously keeping up with The Mandalorian, another giant episode.
I started
this past week.
How many are out, man?
5 now, I believe.
Okay, I can catch up quick, fast.
And this most
next couple weeks.
I told you last week about like kind of a big character introduction.
Yeah.
This week, even bigger character introduction.
No shit.
Yeah. So.
All right.
Yes.
I'm in for a good ride. I think I've only watched the first one, and it was dope. I was happy to be back in Mandalorian town.
Oh yeah.
Where it's just like
great place to live.
You and I talk about it, man. It's like the little western. Every episode is just a little western. You go on a little adventure, have some fun. You know nobody's gonna fucking die, so you're good. Well, nobody that's named Mando or what's his
Grogu.
Grogu, which still can't believe they chose that in terms of
cuter than ever, man. They're really this season. They're really leaning into the fact that like Grogu is a puppy.
Okay.
Now that I have a puppy, I'm like, oh, he's
a puppy. He's a puppy character.
He's a puppy character. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going home and watch some more of The Mandalorian now. That will do it for today's episode of OCC, produced by Grant Davis and Moody Garcia of Permanent Record Studios in Austin, Texas. Huge thanks to our sponsor today, Leesa. Go to Leesa.com/dragon now. Get yourself the best bed known to man or woman or Grogu.
Haven't heard much talk about old His Dark Material Season 2.
I've seen a little bit of hype here and there. I've seen the respect for it. People are like, "You really came back and get found." It's I'm out, dude. No,
people are saying like stuff like they're like, "Oh man, you just wouldn't believe like how good Lin-Manuel Miranda is at playing this like this hard brawling Texas aeronaut. He's just so good at it. This was the role he was born to play."
It really is. It doesn't matter what they do with all the other characters and how good the show becomes. I can't go back just because of him. I just can't stand the man. I can't do it. I just can't do it. If you already have a Leesa and you want to support the show in exchange for more OCC and the Sopranos experience with us, we, as I said, are doing a companion podcast for every single episode of The Sopranos. We've done Season 1, Episode 1. It's out now on patreon.com/oystersclamscockles. Episode 2 coming tomorrow, Thursday, December 10th on patreon.com/oystersclamscockles. Patreon is simply a platform that allows Barrett and I to bring you content circumventing the advertising industry in exchange for your direct support. We decided that this is the project we wanted to undertake on Patreon, the thing that we thought would get the most of you on board for some extra OCC ad-free. It's been phenomenal so far. We appreciate each and every one of you who's joined the Crustacean Nation or the Mollusk Militia to watch The Sopranos with us. First episode was a lot of fun. It's only going to get more fun from here. And episode 2 drops Thursday, December 10th. So make sure you go to patreon.com/oystersclamscockles today and pick your tier that you want. And they're all updated there for you to sign up for now. Go Go right now. What are you doing? Why are you even listening anymore? You should be hitting stop on your phone. You should be going to patreon.com/oystersclamscockles and signing up to enjoy The Sopranos with Barrett and I for the rest of 2020 and all of 2021. Do it. Follow us on Instagram at oystersclamscockles, on Twitter at clamsandcockles. We're also on facebook.com/oystersclamscockles. You can follow me, Ross Bolen, on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at WRBolen on all 3 platforms at WRBOLEN, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. I'm also live on Twitch a few times a week, playing video games with my co-host of the Ross Bolen podcast, Chris Colson, on twitch.tv/bossrollin. That's Ross Bolen with the B and the R reverse. Twitch.tv/bossrollin to watch me play video games with children. And listen to the Ross Bolen podcast wherever you listen to OCC. We focus on mental health with comedy, current events, sports, music, and more every single week, Monday and Wednesday, on the Ross Bolen podcast, wherever you listen to Oysters, Clams, and Cockles. Mr. Dudley, where can we follow you on the social medias?
Check me out at Barrett Dudley. Last week, I posted up when I was starting in on The Sopranos. I posted a little vid, just to
on the social medias,
get the people going. And there were some comments about my setup or lack thereof.
Really?
Yes, because people
judged you.
People said that's an entry table, not a media stand.
Dicks.
And I had my 42-inch TV. Well, now the new TV that I announced last week, it was probably the biggest thing that happened on this podcast in 2020.
It was.
People are saying that.
It was.
Now there is a new media console so that this TV may fit upon it.
Oh.
And as I start episode 2 this evening, I will post.
You will stunt on all of us.
The new setup.
Wow.
And I will shut the haters up.
Wow.
I will shut them up.
The haters better be there on Instagram at Barrett Dudley tonight, at BARRETT Dudley tonight on Instagram to see Barrett's new television and entertainment console setup.
You can eat crow. How about that?
Eat that crow, haters. Eat it! We'll be back next week with a discussion of all those things we told y'all earlier, plus anything else we watch in the meantime. Very excited to hear from all of you on social media. Holler at Barrett and I anytime, anywhere. Also at all those Oysters, Clams, and Cockles accounts we shared with you. Until our next helping, adios, muchachos.